Hey crafty people, welcome back to my channel, and in case you're new here, I'm Sarah, also known as Craft Nerd because I'm a nerd who loves to craft. I do paper crafting, card making, junk journaling, and mixed media art. Let's get crafting! Welcome back. So I've kind of been in a mood lately to be playing around with making colorful backgrounds. So for today's video, we're going to do some embossed resist. And I've got a bunch of different types of paper out. So let me go through the types of paper I've got because, you know, why not play around with different papers? So I've got this, and this is scrapbook.com's. It's their mixed media paper and it's heavyweight. And so it's a smooth white cardstock, and they also have it in black. So I pulled both out to play with. I've got some of my Canson XL watercolor paper, and you get a raggedy edge when you don't press on the Tim Holtz rotary trimmer properly when you're cutting. So that's what I've got, why that's a little fuzzy on the ends. So that's all the Canson XL watercolor paper. I've got some Tim Holtz Ranger, what is this? Distress white heavy stock. So I've got that because it's nice and smooth, and I actually lied, this is not scrapbook.com mixed media paper, it's Strathmore black mixed media paper. So just as a distinguishing between papers tip here, and I'm trying to, and this I think might be some Strathmore mixed media paper because it's not the Ranger because it's not as smooth, and it was just in a container with some other papers. So my best guess is it's Strathmore mixed media paper because I have used that before. So the difference between like a mixed media paper and a watercolor paper when you're gonna do like wet techniques is that a mixed media paper tends to be smoother. So if you're doing stamping, it works a little bit better to get a crisp, clean stamped image than your watercolor paper, which if it's a cold press, it's got some texture to it. Now, if you get hot press watercolor paper, that tends to be very smooth and a little bit closer in texture to mixed media paper. Even with your watercolor paper, there's one side that's smoother than the other, and since we're going to be doing stamping and resisting, I am going to be stamping on the smoother side of the watercolor paper instead of the rougher side. So that's something to bear in mind. And I have noticed the Tim Holtz Ranger heavy stock paper is smoother than the mixed media paper even. It's a very smooth, slick surface, more like a regular cardstock, but it's very heavyweight, so it can hold up to more water than just using a regular cardstock. And I'm gonna be doing wet techniques, and so I tend to avoid using cardstock when doing like regular cardstock when doing wet techniques because it does not hold up well. Your paper ends up pilling up. So yeah, I don't generally use regular cardstock if I'm going wet. And I will probably show a couple ways of doing this without going wet techniques in case you don't have either watercolor paper or a heavy cardstock or a mixed media paper. But those are the papers I'm using. I've got a bunch of stamps I pulled out. I've got two new to me Aall Create stamps. And this is Aall Create Always Believe In number 1170. Which these stamps are a little smaller than I thought they were going to be based on the picture, but probably the size is right in line with the price they were. So that should have been a giveaway. I just didn't pay quite attention. And Petaled Wings 1173. And I just really like the look of these butterflies. So we're going to play with those. Also new to me, I got Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous Floristry CMS485 because one of the places I shop at was going out of business and had a really good sale, and so I got this for like half off and couldn't resist. So I've got that one, and then I've got these stamps that I'm going to use. You may or may not be able to find out there because they're Impression Obsession stamps, and I picked up a few of these during their going out of business sale. So they are no longer in business. And these are their big cling stamps, which they started out with a really long time ago and had their own like rocking stamp holder for them that didn't work great. It worked better than just flat stamping them, but now that I have a Misty, I have a feeling I'm gonna like these stamps better than I have in the past, because yeah, they have a mega amount, or they used to. I've got Swirl Lace, Knit, Circle Fusion, Flower Doodles, Spring Garden, and Flourishes. These I know I've had forever. I think this might be, looking at it, brand new, so it was probably part of that. Bought a whole bunch of stuff because they were going out of business, which makes me kind of sad, but you may be able to still find their stamps on the interwebs if you really love any of the ones I'm using. But yeah, sorry about that. But shop your stash, pull out some background stamps, because we're creating backgrounds today, and just play along with me. So let's start with, where did I put the paper? Let's grab, this is a smooth one, and the Impression Obsession ones are 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. So I'm trying to think how this is gonna work. I can't do it double without. So we are gonna start with, I think, our Floristry, and I have a feeling I'm gonna pull out another Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous stamp here in a sec. And what I'm gonna do is stamp once, you know what, no, I'm gonna grab the other stamp. I'm gonna grab the Floral Trims. I'm trying to figure out a good way to do this. All right, maybe not Floral Trims, maybe Embroidery will work to be able to give me, because I want a stamped background that isn't like, that covers most of this, but since we're gonna eventually cut it up, there we go, that's gonna give me good coverage on this guy. All right, let's go with those guys. And I'm gonna stamp using my Versamark, because that is designed for embossing, and so it stays wet a little bit longer than other inks. And I'm gonna go ahead and stamp these guys on. This is my little tool to help get even pressure, and I'm tilting it up because you can kind of see the ink on there if you do that. And we're gonna just ink again just to make sure we got it inked well. Please ignore the annoying dog. Take out my piece of paper. That stamp wasn't entirely clean, because yeah, that's not gonna be completely white once I emboss it. And I am gonna just grab a spoon and dump embossing powder on this. Okay, that is not perfect, although I would have liked it if I had gotten better impressions in a few spots. Because what we're going for is backgrounds. I'm gonna set these guys aside and do like all of the heat embossing at once. We'll do a couple more on camera, and then I'll do a bunch off camera, because really, do you need to see me stamp and dump clear embossing powder on a ton of stuff? I don't think so. Let's grab something. All right, let's do the Aall Create butterflies. I know I put them in, but just to be on the safe side, because it's stinking hot here in my room and I don't want the ink to dry, I'm gonna do them one at a time. So we're gonna do the black one. a little bit over here where I don't necessarily want it. So I'm gonna grab a soft brush and just wipe that off. It should be pretty good. I need a bigger workspace. There's just not enough room, and I'm futzing around and my ink is drying and oi! Really want to do this lace one. So let's do that one next, and I think then I will go and stamp a whole bunch more and then we'll come back. Spot in the middle there. That came out a bit better. I got almost complete coverage with that stamping. All right, I'm gonna stamp a whole bunch of stuff, come back, then we're gonna do some heat embossing. Actually, you know what? Maybe what we'll do is we'll heat emboss these guys and then I'll go do the rest off camera, because otherwise I might run out of space to put the pieces that have got embossing powder on them but haven't been embossed. So we're gonna grab this with tweezers, grab our heat tool. I'm just doing a quick up close check to make sure it's fully embossed. I don't know how well the embossing is showing up on camera, but that's gonna resist any inks we put on here. So that's the whole point of what we're doing. This one you should be able to see the process fairly well on, because it's gonna go translucent while when it gets heated. Like magic, it disappeared. And just double checking to make sure I got everything, because yeah, my eyesight's not so great. I need to hold it up close to my face so I can see it. You know, this one, the stamp was a little bit dirty, so that ink transferred. So instead of being pure white after we ink this stuff up, it's gonna have a little bit of that color in it from the stamp not being clean. All right, so I'm gonna go do a whole bunch more stamping and embossing, and then I'll be back. So I did a whole bunch more of the embossing. And I'm gonna start with the black, because for the black ones, what I'm gonna use to add color is Distressed Mica Spray Stains. And I already had my splat box up for something else I was filming, so I figured, all right, let's go with that. So let's grab one. And I don't know what, if any, of the embossing you can see on the screen. So this one first. And I'm gonna grab yellow, and the Distressed Mica Stains are a seasonal product. And because they're mica, you need to make sure you shake them up really well. Look, you can see the ball in this one. There's a little ball in there to help with it, because the mica will settle out and you just have the liquid at the top. And so if you just start spraying without shaking, all you're gonna get is, you know, water on your paper. And what I usually do is I picked up one of the, this is for doing, I think if you Google it on Amazon, it's nail polish mixer or model paint, but you strap it in, you turn it on, it agitates the spray bottle, and then I keep them, they're all off to the side, and I leave them on their side once I've done it, because then even if they start settling while I'm working, they're settling over like this whole length so that it's faster to mix them up than just this small area down here. So those are a couple tips for using mica spray stains. Now you could also on the black use distress oxides, but distress inks are not going to show up because they're translucent, and so you'll just end up having, you know, the black show through. So let's do that. Wipe the nozzle off, recap, set it aside. I think I'm going to do a little misting to get it moving around. See if we can get it to move around a little bit. Probably not wet enough. Let's add a little bit more water. Yeah. Just trying to get it to run so that we make sure we get the spots that are not covered by the embossing. Now, I can hit this with my heat tool, but I need to be very careful because I don't want to reheat my embossing, or I can just set it aside to dry, which is what I'm going to do. And I forgot to bring over my trays to set this down on, so let me go grab those and I'll be right back. All right, so I went ahead and cleaned up and got I've got, you know, cheap aluminum baking trays that I use for holding stuff out of the way to dry. And then I have a stack of vintage and antique book page off to the side that I'm using for cleanup, because why waste all that lovely spray. All right, now this is that Impression Obsession lace background stamp that I don't think is going to work really great with this technique, because there's a lot of real estate covered with the stamping, so there's going to be a lot of resisting going on. But I really just wanted to play with that stamp. You're better off using stamps that have more open space for this technique, and that color is Jack-o'-lantern. I think what I may try doing, let's just see, let's set that aside for a second. So this is what I'm basically doing for my cleanup. I'm just coming in and laying down pieces of paper and just getting the ink on them, and then later on I can use this as collage fodder or to die cut from, and then I'm just getting more bang for my buck. Let's grab another one and let's see what happens if we go like that and like that. Not as much of, I thought I was going to get the impression from where it lifted off, but I think because it's still very wet that did not happen. So yeah, not quite what I thought would happen when I did that, but we're gonna set this aside, let it dry, and then what we'll do is we'll come back and wipe it off the embossed areas. I'm just gonna make sure I got this area over here, which did not get any embossing on it. And yeah, we'll come back and play with that some more later. This is an Creative Expressions stamp that I pulled out some more stamps when I started doing the stamping off camera. So I will try and remember to leave all that information below. And this one I'm grabbing is Yuletide. And I forgot to mist before. That helps get it moving a little bit better. The paper's already a little damp. Let me spritz this. And move that around. And then I need to go check on my dog because he's been on an escaping from the yard spree lately. So I need to double check to make sure he hasn't done that. All right, I'm gonna dip up here because I want to make sure, because there's no stamping up there, that I get plenty of ink up there. And we'll set that one aside, and I'm gonna check on a dog and clean up. Okay, it was a good thing I took a pause because I caught his furry butt trying to escape out of the yard. I've got two pinks. I think I may do, let's see, how many do I have? Colors, like pieces versus colors. I got enough. Let's do 2 pinks. Let's do this pink separately. Oh, let's give it a little misting. I am going to just stick the other one down right there and spray the pink without cleaning up first. Do that. Give it a misting. And spray. Oh, and that was Cocktail Party, and this is Sugary Gumdrop. In case I didn't say, the red was Yuletide. Alright, so I've got Wicked Elixir. And again, I'm just gonna stick another one down, and because I grabbed 2 greens, and this one's Bubbling Cauldron. This one's got a lot of, I'd say white space, but black space because it's black paper. So we're gonna do 2 purples on this one, I think. And I've got Hocus Pocus and Ominous Twilight. And I think we're gonna do the Hocus Pocus towards the center and the Ominous Twilight with the schnozzle on the edges. Now, you of course could mix up your colors. You could do, you know, a variety of colors on each piece. I'm sticking to 1 color each because I'm kind of planning on doing a rainbow. If you're new to my channel and haven't heard me talk about this before, like a rainbow butterfly journal. So I plan on having it, you know, the signatures be somewhat monochromatic in their coloring. So that's why I'm doing it that way, because I want to have, you know, purple pieces for the purple signature and pink for the pink and that sort of thing. All right, we've got Frosty Mint. Wonderland. And then for the last one, we're gonna do Shiny Bauble and Snowflurries. Let's do the Shiny Bauble towards the center and the Snowflurries on the edge. All right, I am gonna set this aside, let everybody dry. I'm gonna have a clean up, and then we're gonna come back and do the other techniques. Okay, so I'm gonna just grab a couple that we're gonna set aside so I can show you. Okay, so I'm gonna set a few aside that we'll use inks on for those of you who may not have either sprays, or what I'm gonna use now are they're Lindy's Magical Shakers, but basically it's a powder pigment. So any other type of powder pigment like Brushos, Color Burst, things like that will work with what we're gonna do on the rest of them. But in case you don't have any of those, we'll do a few where we just ink blend on. So let's move stuff out of the way and let's grab a piece, grab a shaker. And I picked up recently Lindy's new release. I don't know if it's still the newest release. She did Gypsy Vibes and Boho Dreams, and I saw them on Instagram and I was like, oh, they're so pretty, I want them. And when I was placing my order, I also picked up Kissing Klimt set, and each of the sets comes with 5 shakers. I think they may sell some of them open stock where you can buy just the individual colors, but I'm not sure exactly. It's been a little while since I've been on the website, and I don't remember if like you can get these guys in individual colors or if there are other products that come like individually. So what I'm gonna do is shake a little on. Close that up, get my sprayer and give it a misting. And the more what we get, the more movement we'll get. And I am probably gonna grab a brush just to help move the ink around. So yeah, one of the cool things with a powder pigment is it usually consists of a lot of different colors, so you can get some interesting colors to come out when you do it. All right, I think I need to add more powder pigment. I need to find cloth to dry my hand with. And I think for this one, I am probably gonna hit it with my heat gun and just be very careful because it's curling up a lot. Should have probably spritzed the back before I started this because that helps reduce curling up. Gonna do a little bit of that, a little bit of that. This is not coming out exactly how I had envisioned, but that's okay. I think the problem is this is the lace one, which has a lot of resist area. So that's part of my problem, is that there's a lot of spots where it's all embossed. So yeah, not the best choice for this technique of stamps. So I'm just using the brush to try and get it into all the little crevices. So yeah, this was not my best choice. And I'm gonna spritz the back a little so that when you get the front wet, it will move a little easier. Let's try. And that color was Smudge the Sage. Next one is Rosewood Rouge. And I believe the magical shakers do have mica. The Klimt ones are flat magicals, so those don't. I'm gonna leave this as is. All right, spritz the back. Now you can also spritz before you put the powders on. So let's do one where we do that. And this one's Wanderlust Wisteria. The first two were from the Gypsy Vibe set, and now these are the Boho Dreams set. Really like the colors in this one. Set that aside. All right, we're just gonna keep going. Boho Dreams, Mystic Crystal Teal. And let's spritz on top first. And I did already spritz the back before I just started the camera up again. Ooh, I like this color. But then again, I'm always drawn to teals and blues. Is Dream Desert Rose. Alright, let's try one of the bigger ones. And so let's spritz on the back. Spritz on the front. And we're gonna try, this is Kissing Couple Crimson, and this is from the Kissing Klimt set of magicals. And this is a flat one, and it's a little finer of a powder, I'm noticing, because it's just like pouring out. So this was kind of what I was hoping for, to get variations, but you can see the white showing through. This should be very cool once it's dry. All right, let's do another one, and this is Every Picture Tells a Story. Very punny. And again, the flat ones are definitely a thinner powder. Oh, I love that color. Trying to get some of the excess liquid off. Oh, this one's gonna be pretty. Okay, so I was not loving how the mica stain ones came out because the spray is on there kind of splotchy. So what I did for most of them, and I figured I'd show you it on screen, is I went back in and added more water because these are water reactive, and moved the ink around with a brush just to get it a little less splotchy. And in fact, for a few of these, I think I need to go in and give them a good rub to make sure that there's no ink on the embossing. So that it stands out more. And that one actually, I like how it came out. And I'm not, you know, still not loving how these came out, like the mica stains. I don't know. This one definitely needs. So like when you're doing emboss resist, after you've added your ink, if you go back in with a towel, you should be able to wipe most of the ink off the embossed areas so that the embossing shows up again. And this one I don't think got stamped very well in the center, and yeah, like this one you can't even see the image really. Let's see. This is the first time I've tried emboss resist using black paper and mica stains, and not exactly what I had envisioned in my head. It's one of those things, like if you catch the right angle you can see the embossing well good, but if not, it's not really showing up. the way I thought it would. And then that one. So let me show you what I did to at least improve on this, where you can't hardly see it at all. This one's a little bit better than that one. That one's a mess. So I'm just gonna wet it again. And I've grabbed a brush and some water. And I'm just gonna get the brush damp. Make sure the brush is clean. And kind of just smooth the ink out so that we get rid of those splotchiness. And then I'll set it aside and let it dry, and that will work much better than the very splotchy version. And then we're gonna spritz and come in and do the same thing on this one. See that? It's so much better once you do that. I don't know how well this is showing up, but I can actually see the image now. Whereas before it just got lost in the pattern of the splotches. So yeah, should have sprayed them and gotten the mica spray stain moving a little bit more before we set them aside to dry. So that's what I did for those to get them to a better look, but this still wasn't what I had in mind. So I played around and actually stamped some more stuff, and this was more what I had in my head, and even this is not exactly what I was going for. And I think probably going to do another coat of inking on this, because what I did was I put Kitsch Flamingo Oxide and Spun Sugar Oxide ink over top, and then buffed it off of the stamped area so that you can actually see, like, this is kind of how I was expecting it to work. So I've got a couple more, and we'll do a couple on camera. So let me grab the color. I feel like maybe peacock feathers. Because yeah, the pink kind of just went gray. This was more, you know, I want color. So I may have to go back and do the pink some more, like put another layer on to bring it back to pinkiness. And I'm just gonna come in with a towel and buff it off the embossed areas. Get a clean bit of. Yeah, I like how that one came out. And what I am gonna do, because it's oxide, I'm gonna give it a little bit of spritzing to oxidize it. And I'm just gonna set that aside and let it dry naturally. Part of me is thinking yellow would really, really pop. And part of me is thinking yellow is gonna do something like this. Let's go for it. Let's give it a try. I'll start with squeezed lemonade. And I can always bring in some fossilized amber as well. I think I may see what happens if we bring in a little fossilized amber. And I'm going to give this one a spritz too. and set it aside. And I'll bring them back once they're dry. Now we also kept a couple of the white ones for ink blending on. So let's bring those back over and pick out color we want to use for that. And we don't have to use oxides on this one because it's white, so the distress inks will show up. So let's go Wilted Violet. I think I'm gonna grab some Villainous Potion and come in on the edges with that. And I'm gonna come off my piece and come on so that it's not too intense. I'm gonna wipe my brush off on my rag over here to get some of that Villainous Potion off it, and come back in with the Wilted Violet and brighten up the center some more. And kind of get a blend going between where the two meet. We are gonna wipe off, because there's definitely some ink on top. Yeah, I like how that came out, and I think I'm gonna grab a splatter brush and probably not that water. And do some splatters of water on here. And grab another rag and dry that off. And we've got ink on our mat, so let's pick a little bit of that up and do some spatters of that on there. Image off again, because any of the splatters that got on there can get wiped off. So there's that one, and I kind of like how that came out. All right, let's set that one aside. I'm gonna grab Salvage Patina, Peacock Feathers, and Uncharted Mariner. Let's see how this goes. Start with Salvage Patina as our lightest color. And since the stamping's here, I'm gonna go kind of in the middle over here. Back in and do a little bit more Salvage Patina in the center. Whoops, and I'm dropping brushes. And then I've got an even darker brush. And we're gonna come in with the Uncharted Mariner, again like we did with the Villainous Potion, just to add a little darkness on the edges. Let's bring in some more Peacock Feathers to blend with the Uncharted Mariner on our edges. And again, let's wipe off our embossed image. Really like how this one's coming out. And we'll do some water splatters. Let's make sure our brush is clean first, because otherwise we're going to get purple splatters on here. Come on. Just am spritzing some water on my mat off to the side. There's a few more splats. There we go. Wipe it off. Again, let's clean up some of this by splattering it on. And then stick our thing in the rest that's on there so the back gets wet too, you know. That. And one last buff of our embossing to make sure it pops. one aside, and we've got one more that I've managed to splatter some stuff on. So, okay, so I decided let's go green, and we're gonna start with Twisted Citron in our center. Let's do Shabby Shutters, and I'm trying to decide if I wanna do a third green that's darker on the edges. I think I do. I kind of like the 3-color idea. Let's try some forest moss. Of water. I don't think I'm going to do the darker splatters just because I don't want to darken this up any more than we already have. So that one's done. Okay, so let's go through everything we did, and it's a lot. I'm not going to lie, I went a little overboard. Okay, so here are our embossed with the mica spray stain, and I definitely like it better once I went in and evened out the coverage. Still not quite what I was looking for, but definitely usable backgrounds. So yeah, I think I may have gone a little overboard, just a little bit. So those are the mica spray stains. Then I went and did these guys where I used the Distress Oxide inks to ink them up, and got more what I had been going for with the mica spray stains, but the color's not as intense as I would have liked. But so that's all on the black cardstock. Don't know that I'll necessarily do Emboss Resist using black cardstock again, but it was fun to experiment. Now these are the guys where I just ink blended and did a little spritzing with water, and I think these are my favorites. I think these came out the best. And then these are the ones I did with the powdered pigments. And this one inspired something I did off camera, which I'll show you in a minute. But that one came out pretty good. Again, I think your stamps that have a little bit more open space work a little bit better with this technique. Although this one, I think the lines are a little too thin, but I do like how this one came out. This one came out pretty good. I think I may have done that one off camera. Some of these I did on, some I did off camera. This one, not so great. This one came out pretty good. And that's the other thing. The darker your color that you add with the Emboss Resist on white paper, the better it comes out, because the lighter ones are not coming out great. You can hardly see the Emboss Resist area. And that's one of those things I know and I knew, but I forgot when I was doing this. And I remembered as I was going along that, see, because this came out much better than this one. You can actually see where we stamped and embossed. This one I still think is kind of cool. And then this one goes, I think that's right set up. Okay, I like the color on this one, if not necessarily the Emboss Resist. I don't know that that came out great. This one, I don't think it turned out all, like, you can hardly see the stamping. Like, it's there, it's very backgroundy. This one I think came out amazing. I love the color on this one. But as I was saying, when I did this one, because a couple of the stamps had not a whole lot of open area, and I had a thought, I was like, I wonder if I ink the base, stamp with clear and emboss, and then put a darker color on top, how that would turn out, especially with this stamp and that lacy stamp that didn't have a lot of open space. I have a better, where's the one that's pretty good lace stamp wise? There's one in here. Like, this one shows the pattern a little bit better on the lace stamp. So I went off camera and did a whole bunch of those, and I'll tell you what colors I used just in case you're interested. But yeah, I did a whole bunch of those off camera, and some came out great and some not so much. I think the problem here is that the difference between my base color and my top color is not drastic enough, and so if I go over this with something darker, it'll work out better. And this one I used Flat Magical in Rizzo Rowdy Red, I think was the base color, and then Wild Rose Rouge I did on top. The same thing I think happened with this one, that the distinction between the colors wasn't significant enough. And for this one I did a Flat Magical Summer Love and Sun, and over top I used Flat Magical Shaker Gustav's Gold Leaf. For what? This one I think I used, yeah, I think these were the Flat Magicals. I think I did Mystic Crystal Teal as the base, and then Every Picture Teal's a Story for the top color. This one came out interesting, and that one I used Tears on My Pillow Tangerine for the base and Red Hot Poker Orange for the top coat. I think this one was Rusty Lantern Lime, and on top I did Evergreen Emerald. Actually kind of like how that one looks. This one did not come out at all. Like, you can't see any of the stamping. And that one was, this one was the Wanderlust Wisteria was the base color. And then I tried a bunch of different grays on top. So I think I tried Gypsy Soul Slate and Dusty Dreamcatcher Gray, and that wasn't enough contrast, so I tried pulling in some Steel Shimmer. And still, I like the color of the piece. I'll use it for something, but yeah, for Emboss Resist, it's not showing up very much. This one was Frenchie's Pink Poof, and then I topped it with Foxglove Fuchsia. And I actually like how this one came out. I wish my stamping had done a little bit better in the center, but yeah, I like this lace stamp. Then, you know what? I think I was mistaken. I think this one is the one that used the Evergreen Emerald and the Rusty Lantern Lime, and that this one was Mountain Meadow Green topped with Ponderosa Pine Olive. I have no idea which one I did this with. This one might have been the Wandering Wisteria and then a purple on top, but I don't know what purple I did on top. No clue at this point. I might have done, possible I could have possibly done Das Werk Wein, or Das Werk Wine on top. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing. So that is another option. Instead of just stamping in Versamark on white cardstock, you can color your cardstock first and then stamp. It works out better if you've got more contrast between your base color and your top color. Like, this worked out pretty good because there was a fair amount of contrast. It was really light base color and then a darker top color. This one actually worked out pretty good because the top color was significantly darker. This one as well. It almost looks white, but it wasn't. It was slightly colored base, but yeah. So there is all of our Emboss Resist backgrounds, and we have backgrounds for days. So many backgrounds. So that's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please do all the things that lets YouTube know you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment down below. Thanks for joining me, and happy crafting.